Welcome to another episode of the Valorant Tips and Tricks Sent by You series, a series where I show Valorant tips and tricks that you guys sent to me. This episode is a bit different because I try to focus more on cool mechanics and ways to play Valorant and less on lineups. Let me know in the comments down below what you think about this. Also, just like always, one random submission will win a battle pass, so if you know any cool mechanics, feel free to send them in the Discord server and you might win a battle pass in the next episode. Now let's stop the talking and start the video. Let's start with the very strange mechanic on Lotus. On Lotus, when you go all the way into this corner, you can't see over the wall, of course. But the strange thing is that if you keep strafing into the corner and you crouch a few times, every time you crouch you will go a little bit higher. And eventually you will create a nasty little head glitch spot. I know, it's a pretty strange mechanic, right? I'm wondering if there are more places where you could do this. But anyway, credits to Noted for this one because I actually saw it in a TikTok from him. Let's continue this video with the way to counter every Viper ultimate. If you ever see one, over here on B for example, and you play Sky, use your Q ability, search for Viper, but don't jump on him. There's a chance that the enemy won't destroy your wolf, so just follow Viper and say to your teammates, I'm following Viper, shoot on my wolf. Pretty unique, right? And this is how it looks like in game.
Shoot my dog.
This trick is especially effective if your teammate is standing far away. But well played, Garbage Kent. Before I go further, here's a tip from a real VIP of this channel. They've created a way how you could improve in Valorant and get the edge over your enemies during the games and even before the games. I'm talking of course about the sponsor of this video, Valorant Tracker. This app has tons of useful features if you want to win more in Valorant. You for example have the live match data. When you hop into a game you can see stats like kill death ratio and the rank of all your teammates and the enemies. So you know for who you have to be careful. Also during the games you get a nice overlay to see which rounds you played good or bad, and a lot of other analytics like how many times you got the first kill, first death, percentage of rounds survived, and a lot more. Perfect to analyze your games after you played it, so you know where you can improve on. And about analyzing, you could also find a lot of other stats on Valorant Tracker, like your accuracy, the amount of aces you got, your weapon stats, agent stats, map stats, all with the goal to help you find your weakness and improve on that. And this is just the tip of the iceberg because you can find way more, like guides, detailed match history, cool stats on the timeline, so what I would say, try it out yourself. You can download Valorant Tracker with the link in the description and it's completely free, my friends. And now let's continue the video. Let's continue this video on Ascent with another mechanic you can use. If you're holding a site from behind these boxes, it's a bit dangerous to peek into a main. And you also can't really peek for info over here, because if you strafe to the right side, the enemies could shoot through the green box. And if you strafe to the left side, you won't be able to look all the way into a main. Plus, of course, jumping is never a smart option, because then the enemy has time to shoot you. But no worries, my friends. If you want to peek for info, you could do this. Simply stand underneath heaven and then jump. You will bounce your head against heaven and then you will go down immediately. Compared to normal jumping, the enemies will have way less time to shoot you. So it's a pretty safe way to get some info. Also, good news, the red days are over, my friends. After seeing a lot of red plays in previous videos or on TikTok, you of course gonna pre-shoot smokes like this now. After getting killed by a lot of these spots, Valorant players don't trust anything at this moment. So big tip for you, if you ever see a wall like this, of course try to counter it with the Sage wall. And you might get a sneaky kill, well played. Now let's go to Pearl for a cool spot you might not know about. Did you know that there's a small gap in between the building and this iron thing in the middle? It's pretty cool and you could throw abilities through it like a Viper molly. However, even though it's cool, it's not really useful at this moment. I couldn't find a good use case, maybe you can find one. A trick that is useful, however, is this Sage trick on Haven. OG Valorant players would stand in a window, place their wall like this, and then stand on top of their wall. It's a classic grim wall, but as you see, it doesn't really work anymore. Either this one got patched or I'm doing it wrong. But anyway, this variation is way easier to pull off. When you stand in the window and aim a little bit to the left, you could see your ability go through the wall. So what you have to do is cast your ability and jump on that part. This variation is easier to pull off and you don't block your teammates if they want to peek window. The only problem is that you have to jump further to safety, but you make the kills anyway, right? So no worries. And while we're talking about Sage, here's one more cool wall you could use on Lotus. When you think the enemies are about to push, place your wall diagonal like this. After that, take a shotgun in your hand and wait till the enemies are opening the door. The good thing about this wall is that it doesn't break until the door is closing. And when that happens, enemies pushing are trapped inside your little cage. I feel bad for the enemies. Lima Bean Exe, well played. Another tip, if you get 4 kills, don't be too greedy for the ace or this will happen. You're not the only one. I also make this mistake every time. Please, ace. No, my ace. Ay, caramba. Anyway, let's fly to Ascent for an interesting fate mechanic. If you stand against this wall and aim a little bit above the corner of rafters, throw your octopus will appear in the ground. I know, it's pretty strange, but the cool thing is that it's peeking under heaven. No hiding for the enemies over here, and if it spots someone, you can just wallbang. Did you know that you could throw your Cypher Cage above the door on Lotus? It will land on the ledge, and now when the enemies are opening the door, you have a nice one-way. That's pretty OP, my friends. Now, situational, but very very simple tricky. If you plant the spike in nest, jump down, stand a little on the right of the bridge and aim on that ledge. Where you throw your nanoswarm, it will land underneath the bridge. It's pretty OP, the enemies won't be able to see it. You could also do the same thing on the left side, of course. But like I said, very situational because not often you see a spike in nest, but the more you know, the better, my friends. And about simple tricks, here's another simple one with Jet. Most people, when they use the ulti, they're just gonna updraft and shoot on the enemies on C-Long. Well, here's an alternative for that. Just use your updraft on these boxes and keep jumping. You'll be able to look over the thing in the middle of B side, so easy kills for you. Well played, Brixie. This is how you do it. If you are a regular watcher of the Valorant YouTube scene, you probably have seen zip tie. But if you didn't, you might not know about this mechanic. On C-side on Haven, you won't be able to use your gate crash on the boxes, unless you are using your clone first, and then you will be able to use your gate crash on the boxes. You can use this trick on the defender side in the pre-round, or on the attacker side, use your ultimate, go all the way to these boxes, do the trick, and surprise the enemies. Enemies will be able to see your clone, but if they don't know about the trick, you might get some kills. And while we're on C-side with Yoru, here's in my opinion one of the best one-way flashes. If you stand in this corner, you have to aim on the ledge of the platform, and when you throw your flash, it will go underneath the ramp and it will create a nice one-way. I know, it's pretty OP, my friends. This next one isn't really a trick, but it's all about the knife. Some of you might have seen it, but in last video I showed one ace with every gun in Valorant. But I didn't show one ace fully completed with the knife, because I thought nobody had one. Well, apparently Booming Beats made an ace fully with the knife. Look at this.
I don't think you're
Honestly insane, dude. Well played. But back to the tricks now. Let's talk about Cypher. On Fracture, a nice thing you could do is place some traps down and then stand on the platform. And if the enemies are walking through your trap, simply wallbang for some easy kills. Just be as funky you can be with your traps. See, tricks don't have to be complicated, just like this other Cypher trick. On Pearl, stand over here, jump and place your cam on the church. I mean, look at this. There's no way that the enemies will expect the cam over here. So a sneaky way to look to the enemies. I said that I wouldn't really be doing lineups in this video, but let's do one. It has an important reason. Just go to this corner and aim at this crack in the wall. Then cast your gate crash with Yoru. The reason why I think this lineup is important is because I have to give you guys the time to subscribe, right? I mean, we're closing into funny and cute kitten cats, so we're getting there, my friends. Anyway, your gate crash will land over here. It's dangerous to teleport, so only teleport if you see that the enemies are distracted with your team. Well played, as games.
One enemy.
Let's do a chamber tricky. There's a dangerous way and a safe way. But I know you love to be dangerous, right? So for the dangerous way, place your teleporter over here. Then stand above drop, wait till the enemies are pushing, make some shots and teleport to your teleporter. When doing this, you can immediately peek the enemies from another angle. But of course, the enemies could be camping your teleporter, so if you want to be a little safer, you could also place your TP over here. But then it takes a bit longer to peek after you teleported. And while we're with chamber on Lotus, did you know that you could hide your chamber trap underneath the grass over here? If you look closely, you can spot it, but if the enemies are just looking towards main, they're probably not gonna see it. Unless they are playing with low video graphic settings, because then there's less grass. I still think this mechanic is broken. When you're on a half-buy and only bought a shotgun, consider saving your smokes for the retake. You don't have to have the IQ of Einstein to know why this is useful, right? With smokes you can get close to the enemies. Just wanted to share this tip because people forget. Luckily Alfeno didn't forget it.
Two main, two.
And that's a Bucky only ace. Well played. If you want to create a cool little Sage one way, place your wall over here. After that, take your operator and you could look all the way behind the dune. The enemies will have a hard time spotting you, and if they spot you, they're most likely just gonna shoot your wall. A pretty nasty trick, this one. And this was the last one. Big shout out to everyone who submitted their tricks. I hope you learned something, and I see you guys in the next one. Peace.